Testing, testing. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Hi, Dwayne. How are you? Good. How are you doing?
Got a lot of people standing around talking. Good morning. Welcome. We've got a big turnout. This is wonderful. Well, you guys all have the agenda, and you know who's coming and who's not coming, and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to cover the agenda. You guys all know what that is. But I will cover what we covered at our last board meeting. We meet like a month before we have our next user meeting, user meeting. But we took in all the see, I can't even talk this morning. I think I'm getting old timers or something. But in the last time, people were asking about acronyms. What are all the acronyms for all these new people that are here that have never heard what all the acronyms are? Oh, by the way, my name is Rose Wheelahan, for those of you that don't know me. Okay, I am from Scottsdale School District and previously from the Department of Education. So, for those of you that don't know me, here I am. Anyway, the list of acronyms, some of the acronyms I had to go back and look at because I couldn't remember the exact verbiage on it. But one of the acronyms that came up was AOI. What is AOI? Arizona Online Instruction. That's what AOI stands for. Yes. There you go. Did you all hear that? That ADE has posted something out there with all the acronyms so that you can go back and review what each acronym means. Okay? The other one was JTED, Joint Technological Education District. That's what JTED stands for. FERPA, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. That's what FERPA stands for. LEA, Local Education Agency. FTE, Full-Time Equivalency. SDER, School District Employee Report. ELL, English Language Learners. SPED, Special Education. ADM, Average Daily Membership. Those are the only ones that people were asking about. What are these codes? So those are some of the acronyms that people were asking. Also, review of due dates for all state reporting. More information needed is one of the ones that came back. They used to post a due date calendar at the ADE, and I don't know that they've updated it yet. I haven't checked recently. I haven't had time to even look at the internet lately. So they do post it out on the website. Okay, so your best bet is probably to go out there. Usually they put it under Constituent Services Department. Yes?
I think they have all the due dates on the IT bulletin board right now for like all the aggregation dates and when your submission deadlines. Like one was last night at 5, and the next one is March 1st, I think. And then one is April 1st, which is a Sunday, which is odd. And then May something, and then May 31st for June 1st.
Okay, did you all hear that? There's a calendar set up on the IT bulletin board with the due dates or the dates that they're running aggregation, integrity, and so on and so forth. Okay, so bulletin board, I know most of you already have a shortcut to that bulletin board, so you can go back and look that up. Survey responses. Thanks for all the feedback, by the way. There's a diversity of opinions. We do our best to accommodate all. Okay. So I'll leave it at that. Explanation of why we hold vendor meetings in the afternoon. The reason for holding the vendor meetings in the afternoon is because we can't get the presenters to come in the afternoon. It's easier to get them in the morning than it is in the afternoon. That's why we have the vendor sessions in the afternoon. Okay? Yes? That's a good reason. Did you all hear that? It's a good reason for having the vendors in the afternoon is because ADE comes in the morning, gives out feedback that the vendors aren't aware of, and they can discuss that with the vendors. You can discuss that with the vendors and get those issues taken care of. All right. Proposed April agenda items. For the April meeting, we already have some agenda items. These are some of the things you guys asked for. Peggy Staples will be here from the Special Ed Department. Okay, so Peggy's already agreed, and we already have booked her since last time. So we said you will be here in April. So she has it on her calendar. April 20th. April 20th is our last meeting for the year. The review of ticket process for AD SAFE problems. That's going to also be covered. That's another thing on the agenda item. Review of integrity aggregation timeline from ADE. They've already started that. They put the dates on there, so that's another thing. How to read and balance SDDI and financial reports. SDDI is Student Detailed Data Interchange and financial reports. We also have a PowerPoint from Tanca Verde. Was it Tanca Verde? Saurita, one of the gentlemen from Saurita created a spreadsheet, and we're going to have him present that spreadsheet on how they reconcile their ADM to the ADE. Okay, so he'll be here at the last meeting. Okay. Archiving records, we're going to see if we can get someone from Records Management to come and do a presentation on archiving records and records management retention. Another thing, we're going to have AZ Safe come with the SPED people, so that way, if there's issues with the AZ Safe and the reporting for SPED side, the two people that need to discuss this, the issues will be here. So, Gina Jami agreed to come with the Special Ed Department on our April meeting. So, we have that set up. Yes. Gina Jami is the AZ Safe lady. Peggy Staples is the SPED lady. Okay? All right. Yes. Okay, we'll take that in. We're going to take a list of who's retiring. I still have 2 more years, so I can't put myself on the list. Okay. Also, since April's going to be our last meeting, we're going to do the raffle again for prizes. So vendors, if you would like to donate some prizes, that'd be great for our April meeting. Let's see what else I have on my list here. We're going to do the same thing. Okay, rooms. We have, how many people here from Power School? You just want to use this. Wow. You guys are getting big. Okay, we could probably put you in the Americana room. There's a room right outside the door. You'd have to go through the double doors on the other, in the next building over. And there's a room that's called the Americana room. We could put you in there since you've gotten so big. Okay? Schoolmaster. We're going to put you in the smaller room over here. Okay? Finance people are going to go in this other room over here. Infinite Campus. Are you guys going to meet Infinite Campus? The last I heard was that you guys were not going to meet because you were having a conference here soon. Okay, so then you don't get a room. And go home. Early home. You get to go home early. Really. Genesis staff, all the people from Genesis will be in this building, in this room. Okay, it's Synergy. I'm sorry. EduPoint, Synergy will be in this room. Also, lunch will be provided. We're going to be eating lunch across the way where we've gone before when we have the big crowd of people. So we're going to be eating lunch over there, and then they're going to set up tables here for everybody. While we're in there, everybody's over there getting their lunch. They're going to set up tables and chairs in here. Okay? You can still eat. Yes. You can eat in that room. You can get your food over there, but they're also going to set up in here some tables in here. Okay? All right. Anything else for the good of the order? Anybody have any interesting information? I'm not going around and having introductions because that was one of the things nobody wanted to do. Okay? So, anything that you would like to everybody to know? Anybody have anything they would like to discuss with the group? So the question is, can we get a list of all of SAFE's contact people at every school district? So communication between schools. So who they can contact at each school is one of the questions. Yes. Yes, it's on the LEA profile, but you would have to go through each school to find that.
And then you'll call the school and they'll have no idea what you're talking about. They don't even know your charges.
Yeah. It's the LEA files is as current as the school is updating it. Okay, it's not always current. All right, Nancy.
If we email everybody and ask them to respond back, would this work if we have Mary send an email out to everybody who's here is on our ASCUS list? You respond back with one name, and then we'll put together a directory that we can put on the website. Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the ASCUS website. Will that work?
Can you also ask them what?
Okay, good. That's a good idea. Okay, so SACE contact and what student information system. All right, we'll do that. Susie's busily typing notes, so we won't forget.
Anything else? Anybody have any other ideas? Okay. Mr. Masterson's not here yet, so we'll wait a few more minutes. Yes, Valerie. The 80-2 report, there's a concurrency report. The 80-1 is district and public. The 80-2 is district, public, and charter. So you can get students that are identified as concurrent. But that report you can only look up by SACE ID, correct?
No, if you leave it blank, you can, but SACE ID could look at it.
Okay. All right, so you don't have to put the SACE ID number in there. You can leave it blank, and it'll run that whole report for you. Yes.
Just to clarify what that means is, on the 80-2, you don't have to do 80-1. 80-1 is just public and charter.
Right.
80-2 is everything.
Yes. Okay. Also, before Mr. Masterson gets here, I want to say please be kind. Okay. That was one of the things on the survey is that we need to be cordial with the presenters. We want them to come back. So if you have opinions, I know some of you are very strong, opinionated people, and we appreciate that. But we need to be cordial to the presenters. Okay. I don't know what's holding them up. Okay, everybody. A comment. They've seen Nancy from Phoenix Union has just said that she's seen a big improvement in the customer service from the Department of Education, which is a good thing because I know that we lost that piece there for a while. And customer service is very important when it comes from the State Department. We need to make sure that there is good communication, and I think they've done that. I know that Mark is working, making sure that the information from the IT side of it is posted on the website and giving you as much information as possible with the systems going down or they're doing maintenance and so on and so forth. So I apologize. They're not here yet. So, yes. The LEA rep, you mean the
School
finance analyst?
I think they're like all new except for Jamie.
Yeah, there's a lot of new staff at the ADE, and I guess we know we just need to be patient with the staff at the ADE. They're trying to learn as much as you are, and yes, the IT staff, they had a lot of new staff also, especially the support center. There's a lot of new voices that I had never heard before, and they're doing a great job, and they're learning quick. So. Okay, Mark's here. Hi, Mark. Welcome.
Wow, it's full again.
You want this or you want this?
Good morning. Full crowd. I remember a year ago when I first came here, first took this job. One, I'm still here. That's amazing. Especially after that. I brought Superintendent Huppenthal with me. And you guys were pretty good, but you had 2 hours worth of, man, this thing really is the pits. And says, and we spent $1.5 million over the last year in just re-engineering it. So we had to backwards engineer it in order to get documentation, in order to figure out how to, what the heck it did. How many people in this room are school finance type people? Okay, so it's small, and the other people are afraid to put their hands up. When I first got there, I wondered what SAY's system was. I thought this big super information system, because everybody said SACE. SACE was everything. What I found out is SACE is 90% school finance. There are 79 systems involved in school finance, and there's manual processes. There's no way anybody in this room can try to duplicate what that does, because you won't come up with the same answer. It's impossible because of the complexity of how it was built and all the different. I'm not saying it was built wrong. It's just over the years it evolved, and it wasn't designed to evolve. So the complexity is that we need to figure out how to get about $10 million. That's what they tell me it's going to cost to replace SACE. And that's just finance. That's what I need to do, because SACE has really got too many pieces in it. It's got this thing called customer, which is the student, with pretty much what you guys do is make sure your student count is correct and that the student is accurate, because you get paid based on your student ADM. Pretty important to you, but that student is also what would be considered a customer and should be in a customer system of some CRM of some sort. And teachers are customers, and facilities are customers, and I can go on and on and on. We have systems for all of those. So if we have 170 some other systems besides the 70 systems that are associated with SACE. Integrity is something that was interesting. There's 317 business rules, of which many of your peers, Rose is here, somewhere I saw her. She's one of the people reviewing the business rules, so it's not us. I want everybody to understand that IT's not doing this system. I want you, the customers, to say those business rules were written correctly. And you guys relied on Lyle a lot because of his experience. to go through those business rules, and we're about ready to finish school finance, those systems probably around March 5th to 15th, and then we can analyze those business rules. And what we're doing is matching it to law and to practice and coming up with what's our next steps. So what would be our next steps is to do what we call in IT is user functional requirements. So we got all the business rules. We have all the back how it was built. Now we need to design what should it have done. We're starting over, right? We might as well ask the customer again, how should it work? So the same people that were involved with reviewing of the business rules will be involved with defining the to-be and how it, and let me be clear, it's not how it should work, it's what it should do. The how is going to be up to some vendor when we put it into an RFP. The what is what you need to get done. And most of it is to be paid correctly and have transparency into, so you don't have to build your own system to try to duplicate what SACE does, so you can guess what your budget is, so your superintendents can get off your backs and you have trust. So the system will be designed with Sarbanes-Oxley, which means that it will be completely transparent. Anybody that touches anything in the system will have a record kept on who touched it and when. That includes any input or output. So if you input records and you say they get lost, because that happens today because we could never tell you they did, or not, we'll know. We'll know whether it was received. We'll know who did it, what happened, and if they were rejected. So I'm gonna go. I brought some because I always talk to you for too much, and I brought the people that really do the work, and I wanted to introduce them to you, and I'll do that as each one of them comes up. But, you know, behind me is what really happens because all I do is talk to people. I don't really do anything. You know how leadership is. But I try not to take credit because that's why I bring them here for you to talk to. Because also you guys give us good feedback. Every time we're here, you tell me something that I didn't know. And I'm sure there's going to be something today that I didn't know. And that's fair, and I like that. Because we have to listen to you. I mean, you guys work every day to try to keep our kids moving forward in education. So I'm going to sort of, I want to emphasize on that because I hope we've done some knock your socks off service. That's my objective. And there's going to be a survey coming out. You know, just like the car dealers when you buy a car, get your car fixed. I always hate this, but I'm going to use it. It works. You know, if you can't give me a 10 on the survey or a 5, call me. You know, and try to remember when you're doing the survey because it's always easy to forget how bad it was. This system, we didn't really. I mean, it's not rocket science. Science. We just started doing standard IT stuff, which should have been done all the rest of the years because the system's still the same old system. We just made it work a little bit better for you. That's why it needs to be replaced because the number one thing, I was in front of the legislature this week twice, and the concurrency issue is something that bothers a lot of districts, right? That they go to some school, some after school or online, and they take your money. And there's not amount. Well, I can't fix SACE to fix that because it's too complex. And that's one thing we told the legislature. Then we told them how much it costs. $10 million, and they all said, "Oh, we can't fix SACE." So what I'd ask you to do is, if you live in a district that has representatives and you want a system that really works, you're the voice, not me. I'll do what they tell me. If they give me no money, I'll try to keep SACE running. It's 12 years old. We need to make it more flexible so you can get things. I think the concurrency issue probably, and all the other issues you face, and the fact that we can't even track $1 billion or so, I think $10 million is pretty cheap. And it'll be designed in the fact that there'll be a rules engine so that if you change the rules, it doesn't affect the rest of the system. What a concept. But that maybe didn't exist in a few years ago. So what I wanted to talk to you guys today about is that, and I'm going to give you a bunch of data, and I hate data. But I just want you to know that, and you guys love data, but I just want you to know that we track it too. And there's some things that we've noticed some differences. And I'm going to bring up some slides that won't make much sense to you because they didn't make much sense to me, and we need to make them simpler. But it does show you some of the trends. It shows me, how much processing you do in given months. Remember, this year we were open in July, and last year you were open in October. So there's different processing times. And another impact that I saw this year, they said our transactions are up over 67%, but our student count is down. I can't figure that out. Is it that you find that you really are putting in more records, or is people moving around, or before you just didn't do it because it just didn't work? And I don't have the answer to this, but it's a pretty weird scenario when your student count drops and over the state and processing's up. But yeah, I'm sure you. Huh?
It's because of the way you're running integrity. Integrity used to be such so that only a few would only go through integrity when their records changed. So now you're setting things so that all of the students run through integrity at the same time. We just experienced that for the Fed census. All of the Fed students were set to run through integrity, whether they had changes their records or not. That's what explains why you have so much more integrity now.
So is that causing you guys problems?
Not for sure. It's fine, but that's why that number's so high.
Well, that's good then. Thank you. Because I wouldn't have been able to explain that at all, so I appreciate that. But one of the things, back to your, we didn't run integrity very often a year ago. Well, I mean, a few years ago you used to have instantaneous integrity, I understand, right? And then somebody broke it. And when they had instantaneous, and please understand that I wasn't here during this period, but when they had instantaneous integrity, when they ran aggregation, the system had to be down. And that meant it was down for 3-4 weeks. So what they did was decide, we'll keep the system upline, but we'll have to run integrity on an offline machine. And that's what we're still doing. But what we do now is we run integrity twice a week. We run it Tuesdays and Thursdays. What I want to do, and I've told Linda, who's going to be up here in a second, is we want to run this on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. That way you have Monday morning a fresh load from Friday. And we'd like to have it every day, but it's just not, that machine is not going to do that today. And it is running a lot faster. We can now run, in fact, we're running right now, as I understand, monthly processing, right? Is that today? Or no, it's today it starts. Today you had to have all your records in by yesterday, and today we run it. And by Tuesday, we'll be done. And we turn it over to school finance. In the past, we wouldn't be done for 15, 16 days. So the speed of this machine is a whole lot better, and that's because some of the people that you're going to meet today and their teams and what they do. It's definitely nothing what I did. December 2011, we had 10 separate integrity runs compared to 2 in 2010. Wow. How did you, what really blows my mind is how did you do 2? That means you put your records in, and 6 months later they told you if it was good or not?
Yep.
Damn. No wonder why you were pissed a year ago. That's like going to the bank and putting your money in there, and then they call you in 6 months and say, we never received it. And you're behind. And you're overdrawn. Wow. So what this slide says is in August this year we had a huge aggregation run, and that was not because of IT, it's because the state legislative or the policymakers decided that they wanted to wait until, that was 2010, I'm talking about September. Normally they're pretty flat, but in September we had this huge run because we waited until end of year to do that. This year, I'm trying to convince people to run end of year in July or June. You guys changed it anyway, so why are we waiting? You still get to go in and change the records, so just run it. Just get the thing done, and you're going to change it anyway. And then we're not holding off, and then you get your reports faster I don't have the East Valley and West Valley yelling at me because they can't do their budgets. And if the records, what we're finding though, the record rejects are way down. So, and I know you guys used to do some, and this slide tells you about failures. And I know if you're the person that gets all the failures, and I don't see a whole lot with the red. Red's really low. You see 30 for the month of December and 541 for the month of November. I'm not going to put the slide up here, but I can tell you what districts they are. And the districts that they happen are very limited. What that would tell me is there's training issues. And that's what you used to have, a team that used to go around train people. Yes, ma'am.
Those failures are file failures?
They reject. Well, there's rejected where they come back to you, as I understand. They might correct me, where you didn't. There was an error in the record. Failures means it didn't load. Yes.
Okay, and some of those, I'm going to tell you this because it's true. Some of those are when we use our SIS to upload the tuition out schools, and that
Could you explain tuition out school?
private schools where the kids, our kids, but we send them to ACES or Desert Heights or whatever. And the dependencies were not correctly set up at ADE.
Okay.
So we had to go through a couple of days of working through with ADE to get them set up correctly, and then the files would go.
So how do we fix that?
We have to just work with ADE to make sure the dependencies, because as I understand it from the last time I went through this, there are 2 places that they have to be set up so that our district is allowed to submit for this APDS.
So our big month was July and September. Would that be what correlate to what you?
Mine have to go to October, November, December, and then again in January.
Okay. Well, we'll take your name and we'll talk to you about how we can fix that in our side.
I don't know, because I think what ADE did is ridiculous. Something needs to be done.
Yeah, but how do we do it so you don't get rejections? And how do we fix it before it happens? You know, that's what customer service is about, right? Not to give you a problem. But
I think that every year, and I don't know if anybody else has this problem, if it's tuition out schools and private schools, but I think every year something happens with the dependencies between us and them, where we lose that connect somewhere. We have to go back through the list with either ESS or our LEA analyst, and we have to recheck all the dependencies, and we'll find out all of a sudden now I can't submit for AD.
because they're not related to you. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay. Well, that's good that we can take this. That's good. I'm glad you told me that. The one point I wanted to make was that if there is training issues, I'm wondering if we can point out some of the really good districts to the people that need help. And I don't want to just do this to point out some that need. But I don't have a training team, and I just want to see if we can get. So if you feel like you're, and I'm not going to point districts out in a group, but if you feel like you want some help, and we can try to coordinate through the experts. You guys are the experts. And maybe get some help to the people that make them less frustrated. Because, this position probably turns over a lot. Some of you have been in it in a long time. But I'm sure that this would be helpful. And I know we don't have a training team. Probably never going to get a budget for a training team. We still empty our own trash. And until we get rid of all the extra systems we have, we spend a lot of money. And we need to get rid of this stuff. Because money's getting shorter. As you notice, it's going to get smaller. It's not going to get easier. So I am going to turn this over to a young lady that I've known for a few years, Colleen Luger. And she joined our team about 8 months ago, about right, and as a contractor. And she worked with me in a prior life. And I'm really lucky to have this person on our team. She has come on board as a business analyst initially, and then she is also an expert in a process called Scrum. Now, I would love to say that we're a full Scrum shop, but we're probably water Scrum, which means that waterfall is a process that IT goes through, but Scrum is an agile, which means it's in iterative batches. But she does a really good job in taking. In fact, you're fortunate. This system is probably the most mature system. Not probably, is the most mature system in ADE right now, which means, and she's going to tell you how we do things, because you probably wonder, how do we pick what fixes? And I just wanted her to come and talk to you, and I want her to listen to, some of your questions, and she can probably answer them directly. And if she can't, there's people here to take notes, and I hope you've known we get back to you and try to get them answered. So, Colleen, thank you for coming.
Well, thank you very much. I'm really, really proud to be here. I do have kind of a sort of answer for you. Those dependencies, every time we have a fiscal year rollover, those dependencies are supposed to follow. And you're right, we do have several places that we have to upload that information and run scripts to get all that information to pull through. It's something we definitely are working on. Don't have a solution in place yet, but we are working on it. That's one of the things that we have. Well, that's good to hear. That is good to hear. So, I have my little cheat sheet here because I thought I'd be a little nervous. I haven't talked to a big group of people in a long time, but since July 11th,
I'll tell you. Just tell me.
Okay, thank you. Since July 11th, now we did our fiscal year 12 changes, and that's what my team focused on from when I started at ADE until July. And then in July, from July till now, this is my development team. I've got Jerry on the far left there. The young lady then is Lalita. She is my QA analyst, something that you guys didn't ever have before. We have QA every time we make a change. It's tested before we put it in. The gentleman kind of behind there is Greg, and the young lady in front is Priyanka, and then Viju is in the back. Lalita is my QA analyst, as I said. Everybody else is a developer. And as Mark had told you, we do something called Agile Scrum. It sounds kind of fun, and it is. We all sit in one big room, and you might see some stuff behind them. We use sticky notes to track our work. So when we do sprints, they're 2 weeks long, and we take specific problems that have been reported and work on those for 2 weeks. And it's the whole life cycle. We take them in, we do analysis, we develop on them, we test them, and then we put them into a place to hold them for releases. We've started releases, so we're putting chunks of stuff together at one time rather than willy-nilly here and there. So we're getting into more refined processes so that we can mature the organization. So we just put in the first part of Release 5 on Monday and finished it Wednesday. And this had one thing that I don't know if anybody here is related to Azella, but we did the Azella SACE ID correction. I heard this thing had been broken for quite some time, and that fix went in, and I heard that it got some nice responses. So we were very happy to put that in.
So did they get good responses, or is it
That's good to hear. Okay, so I'm kind of going all over the place, but SACE fixes since July. Now, for 6 months, I've had these people here. We have put 89 individual fixes into production. And some of the big hitters there were the LEA calendar fixes. Took us a couple of iterations to get that going, but we got that stuff in, as well as the SDER fixes where we couldn't upload those files. We were having trouble with all sorts of troubles with that. A lot of SPED integrity failures we've fixed. I know we have more. We're working on those, but a lot of them have been fixed. And the October 1st SPED reporting went out, I heard, with 4 days to spare, and the numbers looked really good. And my one programmer in the back, Greg, he actually took ownership of that and went through all of those business rules with our product owner to make sure that what we were doing was going to be what you guys needed us to do. It was very collaborative. It was very agile, and I was really proud of them. It turned out great. So, like I said, Release 6 went in January 31st. The rest of it went in part of it went in last night. And then it was such a big release, so many things on that release, that we had to split it into a third piece. So the third piece will go in on Tuesday. Okay. So I kind of touched on this before, but our process, when you guys have a problem and you call it in or you email it in or you do whatever to get that problem into the ADE group, the support group, your contacts at ADE, we have the same process whether that ticket comes on a napkin or comes through the support center. It's consultation. When it comes in, there's a first tier that looks at it. Is it really a problem, or is it something that they could solve? Say, you need to reset this, or you need to do that, and they can solve it and close it. If they can't do that right away, it gets escalated to tier 2. Tier 2 is something that Mark is working on, and we're putting that in place. It's not quite there yet, but I'm acting as tier 2, which is a little scary because I'm a business analyst, not really a developer, but I take those trouble tickets that come in, every single one of those, and I review them. I look at them. I try to recreate them. I make sure that the information that's on the ticket says what district, what is the problem, what are the steps that we're taking, do you have any backup with that, do you have screen prints, or do you have copies of reports attached to those? And if that information is missing, I actually immediately push it back and request from my contacts at ADE, the support desk or the school finance individuals, I need this information in order for my team to look at it. Once I have that information, I put it up on my sticky board in a bright blue little ticket, and we have something called operational work. So when they need a mental break from working on something, or they have extra time, they go out and they pull these and do backlog review. They look at the ticket. They review it. They see if they can recreate it. They look at the stored procedures. They look at the components. And they determine, is it something that can be fixed easily? They make their notes, and we put it in our backlog. One thing that Mark mentioned a few minutes ago, we don't determine what we work on. We rely on your business partners. My product owner is school finance. I rely on them to tell me what I need to work on. So they have their top, I think we have 18 items right now on their backlog list that are their hot hitters. So those are the things that we're going to look at first. Those are the things that we put into our sprint. Now, Agile is wonderful because if they decide that their priority 3 really this week kind of drops off the radar, they can move whatever up they want and move that out. So with 2 weeks to get work done, it's really fast, and we're really trying to hit those things that are most important to you. Okay, so that's the prioritization. And then it goes into our sprint where my developers take what they have, their notes, their information, and they do their magic, and they work very closely with our QA analyst. They do test cases and test plans up front so that when we get that to the point where we're going to implement it, we do our testing in a test environment, which, thank you, Mark, we never had that before, in a test environment so that we can make sure that it's not, hopefully, not going to break something else. And then we put it into our release. And this process is continued over and over and over. And at the end of the 2 weeks, we have what's called review retrospective, where we invite our product owners, our stakeholders if they want to come, and we show them what we've done. And then they tell us, yes, we like what you did, move it on up, or no, we don't like it. And they can either tell us to put that into the next sprint, roll it over, or, you know what, it's no longer an issue, we'll wait for that one. So that's our reevaluation piece right there. So that is our whole process that when you guys send tickets in, that's what we do. Any questions? You guys, hello?
You have, I'm really lucky to have Colleen here working. I am so proud of what her team does. It's not easy. She makes it sound simple. But we're talking a system that has millions of lines of code, very complex, and she's doing this magic. And I don't understand how you guys did things before because you didn't even have QA. I think they just built mistakes on mistakes after mistakes, and nobody knew where the mistakes were because it just was weird. But if you got any questions, this is the person. If you got any priorities, way in the back there. I'll carry.
That might be something that we could look at. We do all of our tracking by number, and when you do report an issue, you should have received that number back. We actually can do a query by your name. So if you want to give us your name, I can go and look and see where that ticket is and get back to you.
Well, no, I know where it is now because I have the number. I just sometimes when I call, I don't have the number.
Yeah, they actually do have the ability to look up tickets by the person who submitted it, by their name. They have the ability to look that up. Okay. So maybe it's an issue that we can bring back.
Well, Colleen, it's good. This is a good question, and this is back to our ticket system, and Linda is very much trying to implement. I've told you that we're implementing ITIL, and our ticket system right now is very antiquated. What we are going to implement is a tool that's called Change Gear, and when we get a little more mature, it takes time, it takes baby steps. And what that will do is when you input a ticket, it's going to send you an email. And anytime they update the ticket, it's going to send you an email. So not only will you'll have the email with the ticket number all the time. Our system today is not that robust. It's a little old. And I understand your frustration because I used to have to call the help desk, and it's hard to say who you are, and we don't track it real well, and you don't remember who entered it if you called it. If you typed it, you've got a chance of knowing that you did it right. But if somebody else typed it, they could have spelled your name wrong, they could have spelled your school wrong, they could have done a lot of things, and it's hard to find. So I think Linda's working to help us fix that, but I appreciate that. And as we do these changes, appreciate some patience, because I know you want a lot of things, and one of those is responsive help desk.
Okay. Yes.
Can you describe what happens when multiple customers call the same thing, they go out on the same ticket, or maybe they end up with different tickets and combine them? And then one more thing, at what point do you decide this is a known issue, post that information on a bulletin board someplace so that we would know that you're aware of it?
That is a really good question, and it's something that I think as we mature as an organization, we're going to get better at. Right now, there has been a very heavy push by the support desk so that if they do hear of multiple instances of the same issue, they are trying to attach them to what they call a global ticket. One of the things that I do when I review them as they come in, I look back to see if there is something that is already like that, something similar, and then I actually send it over to the ESS team or to school finance and ask them, okay, these two sound familiar, they sound the same to me. Can you tell me if they're the same or if they're different? Because if they're different, I am going to keep them separate. But if they're the same thing, I'm going to combine them so that I know that 4 or 5 footprint tickets are associated to my one, I call it TFS, it's Team Foundation Server is what we use, but my one TFS ticket. And you are right, we do need to do a better job of communicating those known issues out. We've been pushing and trying very hard to get those information pieces out on the bulletin board, but we do need to do a better job.
And just to, not to try to talk over Colleen, but it's she talked about level 2. And what you just brought up is a level 2 in ITIL, which is called problem management, and making that join. We do not have the maturity in our organization to have a level 2, as Colleen has said she's doing level 1, level 2, and level 3. And that's not the appropriate way because then her focus, it's hard to look at all things at one time. But we are and over the next year, hopefully going to be able to move into a Tier 3 support avenue for SACE and provide that type of visibility. But I can, in the short term, figure out how to get this on bulletin boards or a SharePoint site and try to do something like that. I mean, I think that's reasonable. But I think we need to do a better job with problem management.
And if you could include, like, when you put on these updates, the free tickets or the free updates that you just put in the ADE, it would be nice to see what those were, too.
Oh, absolutely.
You mean when we put in a release?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something that you gave me a couple sessions ago, and I failed on that. And we are going to, I mean, another thing that you told me is to get the vendors aware of what we're doing. That's another thing that we have got to get better at. It's easy to get caught up in the sound of speed where we're at. And believe it or not, ADE, this team works like any team downtown. I would put them against any team in this city. And they're that productive. So we just need, and we don't have a whole lot of people. I told my boss, I will on Monday even again, I'm about $1 million short in just keeping the system, $1 million a year, that's not a little bit of money, short in just keeping this system running. The reason why the last administration failed is they didn't put any money into it. It's not because, I don't think they're bad people or anything, but if you don't put money into it, you don't have knowledgeable people, you're going to fail. We're still short on money because they're not paying the cost of ongoing support. You know, I think one thing I've learned in government is that we love to build things, but we forget the 60% rule. The 40% is what it costs to build it. 60% on top of that is what it costs to support it. And we forget that because we just think that's frickin' magic. It just happens. And it doesn't, and you're frustrated and I'm frustrated. But I hope that we can alleviate that. And again, letters to your congressman and telling them that you want this supported.
Okay, I'm almost done, but I did want to bring up one thing. You had some questions last time we visited, and Terry couldn't be here today, but she put a list together of those questions and the answers, and I think there's a few more that you'll be putting together. But one of the things that's not on that list, and I know is of importance to you, is records processing out of order. This is something we do have that as a high priority to be looking at. It came into us a little bit after we started our current sprint, but it's something that's going to be looked at in the next couple of weeks. So that, bear with us. We're pushing through, but that is something that we are going to be looking at.
Well, I mean, I think the primary thing that we just said is when you fix things, you uncover the little things that used to piss you off weren't mattering anymore because you had so many big ones. So now that we've gotten some big ones, you're starting to see the things that really make you inefficient or not effective, and hopefully we'll start to get to them and knock those out. So that, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we see that periodically where, there's so many different pieces of the puzzle that if everything is not exactly orchestrated correctly, something weird over here happens. The good thing is my team actually likes to be really curious and dig down to root cause. So a lot of the things that we're finding, for example, Greg with the October 1st. Now, he had a directive to do this for October 1st. He went and took it upon himself and another gentleman in ADE to go through all of those October 1st business rules and make sure that age 22, what's going to happen with that? What about these kids that are over here doing this? So they actually walked through all those business rules and did a really, excellent job of trying to alleviate some additional problems. Something else that we found that I kind of thought was funny but wasn't really. SACE for the last couple of years hasn't really been up and running by 40th day. This year it was, but we found out that a report that was supposed to report 40th day stuff never, ever, ever worked. And it's something that we wouldn't have uncovered had we not put several fixes and several upgrades into place to make us hit 40th day. So that was something that we looked at. We said, wow, how come this has never been reported before? Well, it's because it's never worked by that time before. So, it's finding little nuggets of information as we go along that, those things, we've logged that. We know we have to fix that.
And another thing that we used to do, because we didn't have a test system, we didn't have a code repository. We didn't know who had the real code. So we might have fixed it, and then that code was never checked in. So we went out and used the old code to build another fix and put the old code back in that trumped on the good code. I know that doesn't sound like it's very smart, but that's when you don't follow good process. That happens to the best of people. And I would make sure to bet that that's what happened a lot. Now we have, through Linda and Colleen, we actually lock code, and nobody gets to touch anything. When it's in pre-prod, or pre-prod and QA. Dev code can be done whatever, but once it gets locked in, it's done. And that's a maturity that comes with time, and because of people like Colleen and Linda, we've been able to take there. And so the 40-day was really a cool thing to talk about. Thank you for bringing that up, because I was really proud of telling you we had the 40-day last time I was here, right? I'm pretty naive, though. I didn't understand that all schools start at different times, and I'm thinking, why isn't this thing working? Well, because it never worked. And I was frustrated, and I said, well, I told people we're running. Guess what? It didn't run until probably end of October or sometime maybe in November. So by the time we got everybody done, we are running, but when it did run, it pissed off a lot of people, charter schools, because they got to really see numbers, real numbers, and they had overestimated, and that causes a big issue. I didn't know that would be an issue. It's amazing what you uncover when you really do it right, because all these years they've been guessing. And we are running 100 days on time. That's a good notification for you. That'll be real. It won't be in May like last year. It will run starting in February through March, depending on where you are in your 100-day. And I know you don't like what we run, and you say the truth is not the truth. It's as truth as we can make it in SACE, and it probably ain't the truth, but it's as real as I can get it. So thank you, Colleen.
Thank you very much.
I'm not sure if this is the right time for this question or if it's going to be addressed later, but I noticed for the aggregation dates for this year, one of them is April 1st, which is a Sunday, so I don't know if you guys kind of realize the school's still got us, or if our data is really due by 5 p.m. on a Sunday night. And the other is there's no aggregation after June 1st before the end of the year. Now, my last day of school is June 1st, so it'd be good for me to have an aggregation somewhere in the middle of the month so I can make sure my data is right before the door closes.
Well, you bring up very good points, and this is something as school finance talk. Rose, did you got school finance coming today? Yeah. So that's an issue you want to bring up with them. Everything that we do is driven by their schedule. Okay. So when everybody, I would like to run, to me, and call me naive again, because I'm pretty naive. I come from a business where you run it. I call aggregation end of day. It's an up, boom. It's like a record update. Banks run it. It's real. It's done, and you can do it every day, and then you have the truth every day. But they say, oh, we can't do that. I can do that. Or we can do that. We can run it weekly. We can run it every other day. But that's the customer. That's who you tell how, and we will schedule accordingly to how they tell them. So please tell your rep. Yes, please tell school finance. What you said is reasonable. And I don't think, we would not, we can run it. It's just a matter of getting it on the schedule and let everybody know that it's out there. Yeah, just let them know. And I'll take it back too, but your voice is a lot more important than mine. So you want to tell everybody?
I've had a couple issues here where I've got a student that's sharing an SACE ID with another student, totally different kids, or I've got twins and they've retired one of the SACE IDs thinking it was the same kid because they're obviously, you know what they do with twin names. But if you submit the kid with a last name of need new SACE, I mean, they get that kid processed and you get a new SACE like within an hour or a little over. I mean, it's really smooth.
Wow.
I'd work with support on that.
Do you hear that? Customer service. Thank you. Now, please. I'm going to bring up, I got one more person that I want to bring up. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you very much.
And I want to say that, boy, that got a lot of buzz going. But isn't that stupid that we have a system that has so many duplicates back to customer that we don't really know what the real customer name is, and I can't track a kid and I can't move from school to school? That's dumb. We got to fix that. But that's something long term. I'd like to.
Four of the questions that were submitted to Terry are answered on this paper, which will also be posted on the website. There are only 100 copies of this, so let's do one per school district so that we. And then as I said, we'll post it on the website for anybody else who wants a copy of it. And those are four of the specific questions that she addressed, that were asked of Terry.
So I've asked somebody that's been working with me, again, for over 7 years. I don't know how I convinced her to come to the Department of Education. She probably has effigies of burning in her office of me. Colleen, do you want to give your email address? Colleen, COLLEEN.LUGAR, right? ER, I'm sorry. That's why you don't have me doing that, at azed.gov. And I'm going to introduce Linda Jewell. And she is fabulous. And she is a jewel to me. She's really, and her team has put up with a lot of frustration. Anybody that deals with me for 7 years, because if anybody really knew me, I'm like a cyclone. I am a change agent that just stirs up things. You know, the cheese moving thing, I move cheese all over the base, all over the building. So if you think that something stays the same, I change it just to see if I can piss you off. But Linda, she brings the other side. She's the sanity, and she keeps everything moving and keeps everything rolling. So we're releasing our first what I promised to do. Another thing we promised to do. We promised to fix SACE, and we promised to give you some dashboards. So Linda's going to talk a little bit about the first release. It's not public yet. We're working through, but she's going to give you some views. It is in the private. We did a soft launch. And so we could work through issues. The fact that this state has no dashboards is pretty sad because all of the other states a lot of the big states have them. We plan on rolling these out once we get the bugs out of it as pretty regular, and we're looking for your feedback. So Linda Jewell, please come up here and talk to these fine people.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. Yes, I have worked for Mark for quite a while. Oh, thanks. And one of the things, I just want to touch a little bit briefly on what Mark and Colleen had alluded to, and it sounds like you're pretty interested in understanding some of the process changes and things that we do to make sure that I'm delivering the right fixes, the right information to you. So I will make sure, if we could, have some updates. And back to your question about do I have, a known error database that I can pull and do things like that. That is all part of the disciplines and the process and why I'm here. So my first step was to really bring in from the development side source control, some of the things that are required to look, what am I affecting when I do this change? So I had to bring in that discipline and so forth, and Colleen's my biggest champion on that. And now I'm focused really on the production services side, where I look at incident management. When you call in for a ticket, I understand, I see the frustration when you enter a ticket. I enter my own tickets and get frustrated. So I understand that, and we're working towards that. So I'll try to bring some updates for you each month on that front and how we're progressing. And if we're not going the right direction on something that affects you, that's what we're here for. Let us know, please. So I did want to talk to you a little bit about our SLEDS dashboards or reports. So I came here in April, and I have a very strong business intelligence background, which means I build big data warehouses, and I build reports that go on top. That's my forte, strength, and background. I saw that we had a data warehouse. I'm like, what do you mean nobody can see the data? So I was really taken aback by that. I said, well, what do you mean nobody even knows it's there? There's all this data that can help, although it's historical, but that can, help people, parents, see what their kids are doing not from their individual children, but from a school perspective or from a district perspective, to see what their Ames results were. There's so many different information that we capture in the data warehouse, and it's just sitting there for me, but no, I mean, this data is for you. So we made the first attempt, and since I didn't have any requirements, I said, well, if what seems to be the biggest hot topic and some of the biggest problems and information that people want to see. So we did a soft launch within the agency to gather feedback about the use of the dashboards. Now, this is, as you know, to create reports and to create these kinds of visualization all takes a lot of money. So I tried to use what was available to the agency already just to take the data and make it public. How do I do that? So the first thing that we did, so the first thing we did was put in, and this will be similar to what it looks like. If you notice the ADE website, when it becomes public, you'll have that kind of changing picture. I don't know if you know what that is. And then you'll have a little line underneath there that will show like school performance and things like that. This is not to be confused with the school report card, which will eventually be part of these dashboards or reports. So the first thing you're presented with is on the right, you have Ames results or year-end results, and you're given a map by which to search. This is one of just one map that I can present. I can do district maps, although I have to figure out how unorganized territories map to districts, so that one's throwing me for a little bit, but welcome to the West, I guess, huh? So I need some more work on that. But if you look at the county, so I can click on a county, and it will present some data in which to choose. Or I can go directly to the Ames results. I can click on that icon. Or I can go to year-end results. And year-end results are more like year-end outcomes, graduation rates, and so forth. So these are the first just basic information that we've had all of these years and, not able to make public, which is still baffling for me. So one of the things and some of the feedback that we've gotten so far is that, I'm a data person, so I really know how to maneuver this. But is it really user-friendly yet? I don't think so, and that's kind of the feedback we're given. So right now, you can click on this that little arrow on the side. I can either click by district and choose my district there and click Ames results, and once I do, I can say all of in my county, Yuma, and district, choose whatever district I want, and then I can see what my Ames results were. I can also choose by the sidebar, as I was mentioning, and I can start to see and start to select school year, test subject, test level, ethnicity. There's some other parameters down here, school, and so forth. So I can really start to look at some of these things. This is the kind of feedback that we're trying to get. What other information does everybody want to know? And hopefully we'll get this applied. So another one would be the year-end results. So here's another one where I can show on Yuma, and I can see the number of students not promoted to the next grade. There's some different outcomes. I can go back to the Ames. I can see which ones were transferred or withdrawn. At this point, I don't have the ability to drill down and see more detailed information. I'm only going to allow from an aggregate point of view. So this isn't about student detail. It's about what do I want to see within the district, because these are the things that parents may look at, or shop owners, whomever. So if anybody has any questions about the warehouse or about the data, we did do a soft launch on Tuesday, and we're gathering the information, going to put some changes in before we make the public launch, and I don't have a date for that yet. But I'd be really interested to get your feedback. We'll have something where you can go and enter the information. You can make it anonymous if you want. You can be completely honest. I have thick skin. I've worked for Mark for 7 years, so so no problems there. Oh, absolutely. I'm hoping within February that I make it public. Again, I just have a couple, but, with the feedback and your help, I'll understand what's important data for you to see in the public. I don't know. I have a logistics background. I know what it takes to track a package, right? But, I don't have the educational understanding of what you want to see. I understand data, I understand relationships, but that's where I really depend on your feedback and your inputs to tell me what's important for you. So thank you.
Now, Linda has brought us to a whole other layer of. But when I first hired her, and she came to work, and I told her, we've made huge improvements. The first thing she told me is, you really suck. Because you know what? You start to breathe your own smoke, and you start believing. And so she brings that, and that's why I like coming to this group, because you tell me truth. It's so easy to believe we're doing right. We're so easy to believe that, hey, I've got the right things going. Well, sometimes we don't. And we need to hear the truth, and this is a good group. Because you serve our customers, the kids, and our parents. You're the most important part of the education. I keep reminding people at ADE that ADE is not about education. ADE is about serving you. And that's hopefully something you've seen and changed since the Kupenthal administration. Because that is our focus as the executive team at ADE, is to ensure that stays up front and foremost. So I talked a little bit about some of the changes, but somebody asked a really good question, or Linda led on to it, about real data, real students, right? Well, our goal, and it won't happen in this next, well, hopefully it happens this year. It depends on, again, how many people tell their congressman to give me money. I'd like to give something out that to each district that I can let you pummel into the data, and you could actually see even detail. Okay, but this has to be done in such a way that it's FERPA compliant, which means you have to have the rights to see the data and have the level of authority to see that kind of data, because, of course, we don't want There's special needs stuff that you don't want out in public, and so we're very cautious of how we're going to do that. But it's done in other states. This is not rocket science. Again, what Linda always says that I always agree with is that education is where retail was in 1970. Retail companies, Walmart, they know what you're going to buy when you walk in the store. You didn't even know what you're going to buy, but they do. They already have the backup for what you take off the shelf in the back to put back on the shelf. And they have only enough for what's in that you're going to buy. They know down to the detail because it costs them money to keep more. But in education, we seem to not know how to use data. And I'm hoping that you can get your teachers excited. You can start to, once you start to see this, get people excited. And I want your feedback. Tell us, well, that's fine. You gave me this data, but it doesn't do anything for me. Here's what I really want. Because we're going to have a board that meets monthly that's going to prioritize what we do every month in releases. And that board needs to come from people like you because, ADE could fill up the whole board with what they want to see. And really, does that do any of you any good? So I want to make sure that there's enough of your sample in there. Of course, we got to serve our master, but I want to make sure the customers get theirs in there too. So once this gets released, we'll let Rose know, and we'll get this out so that you guys can start to play with it. ITIL Change Gear, I told you that's a tool that, back to your question, that why don't I get my ticket number and why don't I know when somebody's looked at it? Because if nobody looks at it, I should know that. Because I have a measurement that I'm supposed to do that I can't measure right now, and that measurement is I should be closing every level 1 and level 2 ticket within 5 days. That means it's closed. And if it's not turned into a problem ticket, that means you're satisfied in 5 days. Well, I can't measure that now without this kind of tool. And that's what I'm going to get to. So that will let you know within 5 days you were addressed. Because I'm sure you used to submit tickets to ADE and you'd never get a reply. You'd call them and you'd never get an answer. So you gave up. So now I want you to know that I'm very concerned about those issues, and I want you to know that we're paying attention. If we don't pay attention, I need to know. And some of you in this room have been very good about sending me emails. And some people in my department really hate when you send me emails. Because I usually send an email out right away and say, did you get back with the person? One thing that I firmly believe in is communications. I love to talk to people. And I even like to tell you bad news. I can't fix that right now. But I'm going to fix it in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and I'll tell you when it's done. You won't yell at me as much if I told you that. But if I don't talk to you, you get pissed off because you think I ignored you. It's like getting, you go to a place and you get customer service and they ignore you. You feel like, and I grew up a lot in the retail, hospitality, and airline and logistics business. So if you piss off a customer, they don't come back. And that costs money. So I'm looking at you just like that, even though you really have nowhere else to go. Yes, ma'am.
SLDS going to be pushed out to the public simultaneously as the districts, or will the districts have an opportunity to view that and customize that, or send us your feedback before it's pushed out publicly?
We're going to push it out fully public because I don't have the ability to just give it to districts. I don't have that level of maturity. Huh? Yeah, well, that's an idea. Thank you, Linda. Just as a random sampling, since this isn't a scientific study, and you guys are from teachers and PhDs, so you all do scientific things. How many people would rather see this district-wide before it goes public? Okay, then Linda, you and I will try to figure that out.
And just so you all understand, the reason why that would be important to us, because then we have a lot of marketing tools that we use when we try to go out for overrides on the finance side. So we want to make sure that the information that's presented from the state and that's on our own websites align to each other, so there's not any conflicting information, or it's presented in a positive way.
That sounds great.
That's good. That's the best feedback I've got today. Thank you, because as you were saying this, all that was sitting through my mind is that, well, you've been, and I'm not saying this would happen, but your district's been telling them how good your district is. And all of a sudden, the truth is going to be out there. That you're in the bottom 10. That would be really, it is truth. It is Ames. It's Ames. The one thing we do focus on is truth. Now, we do have some data quality when it comes to student level data. But when it comes to, I've got ACT, I've got Ames, I've got National Clearinghouse. I've got some really heavy-duty scientific stuff. And when we start rolling out, the thing that I have challenges with is student. Okay, so let's talk about what's happening to you guys. Yesterday or today, we're awarding a contract of about $1 million, roughly. And I've been telling you that we had to do student-teacher connection in the state of Arizona by December 31st of 2000. Well, it's supposed to be done last October. But we got an extension to December 31st, 2012. There's 7 McKeesa districts that are going to be piloted at first, and they will be done starting in February and into March. We're going to come to your district. We're going to give you we're going to start communicating to your superintendents and start to get the excitement going because we have to have every district done. We're going to come to your district. We're going to have to map all your courses to the NCES standard because, of course, your courses don't match the NCES standard. So you're going to have to map your courses to the standard. That means if you have English 36, 34, and it maps to a national standard of English 101, and it gives you a description so you know what the content of the course is. So you can match it as close as you can because there might be 30 Englishes. And so you will map that to the English course, and then the next step you're going to do, you got a course match, then we got to match the students to the course. So we're going to link your student information system into the course. This tool will have all this. We're going to create the links automatically into the back ends of your SISs. And we got 3 systems we're probably going to have to touch. Your curriculum system, if that's where you got your courses. If you don't, then some of you don't have those kind of sophisticated. We'll do something in order to get that done. And you can update this. It's not something that, once you upload it, it's not done. It's something that's going to happen continually. Because any change will be loaded. So then once you've loaded the student data into there, of course, we're going to do a match with SACE. Does that student exist in SACE? We sure hope so because you're getting paid. And then that data will be validated. Then we're going to map the teacher, or teachers, plural, to the courses. And so then we'll have what's called the course teacher-student connection. And hopefully, and it's not part of the scope of this project, but we'll land all that data. And the next phase, which I've asked for about $3 million for, but don't know if I'm going to get it, is to take that data and make it useful to you. And that's what I was talking about, is how to get you real data about your teachers, courses, and students, how they're performing, how they're doing, from a national, comparing yourself to districts. I've had Mesa tell me why we would like to compare ourselves to other districts. And aggregate later, you could be able to do that. These are the kinds of things we're going to do with it. We have every other bit of data except this one. So all the ARA 12 data elements, we have them. We also have the post-secondary education, so we can map now how your students do when they go into college and how they are performing or how they perform. I have a meeting on Monday with DES, Department of Economic Security, and we're going to talk about labor connection. So we can now talk about how that student goes through college. Did they perform in the workforce? Did they make money comparable to, did they do the right things? We're going to start to be able to see things. We're going to start to be able to identify, are we teaching right for the colleges? Are we teaching, is the teachers up to date with what they need to do to make them prepared for colleges? There's a lot of things that are going to come out from this. That is really, really important. I would let your districts know this is not going to come as a friendly thing because you guys are going to say, God, you give us too much already. This isn't mandated from the federal government. If we don't meet this, they will take some money. That's what they say. I don't know if they will, but this is mandated, and it's upward reported. Yes, ma'am. All of it. Primary and secondary. And this is the tough one. You just brought it up. Primary is a tough one. None of you, or some of you might, I'll say most of you, because I've done a couple samplings, do not map students to a real course in primary. All right? You will have to. And that means some work. I know it caused Osborne. Is anybody hearing from Osborne? Okay, Osborne School District has gone through this, so they're going to be our. They know how hard it is, but what they found out, there was some good stuff, and I don't have it all in my head. What they found out is they had students that didn't do anything for several hours a day, and they had them lost, and they didn't know it. And now this brought some attention, and you think to yourself, well, how could that happen? It's because you don't know where they're at. And that realistically happened, and they're very excited with the tool it brought to them. So there's benefits to you. You're going to get insight for primary. Secondary, your tools probably do this much better than, and you've been doing this for years. You don't have courses that match us. Now, would you probably predict that the state of Arizona is going to tell you that eventually you're going to have to go to a state standard? I would be thinking that in the next couple of years or next year or so that you start cataloging the NCES standard to your courses so that it becomes easier. I know you've already done your course for next year in December and January, so we won't do anything like that. It's coming, though. Another thing that's going to affect you is this next Data Governance Committee that's going to meet the end of February. We're going to approve 2 new standards. Well, unless they tell me not so, but I don't think they will. One of them is Common Education Data Standards. I've been telling you about that standard. It will be approved in February. And then EdFi is the other one. EdFi is the ability for us to reach into Michael and Susan Dell Foundation and implement the tool that they've spread out into 10 states, mainly in Texas. And they've done a lot of the work on the dashboards that I told you about that allows me the interlinks between. They've done some work. I don't have to spend the money to do what they spent, $50 million. Well, EdFi has spent $300 million so far in developing this. So I don't have to do a lot of that. I can just take some of the lessons learned and give you some of the benefits. That's not the end destination, but it's coming. What's the impact? Well, my boss asked me, he said, well, how long do you think you're going to give them to become SEDS compliant? I said, I want 2 weeks. But I know that's not real because you got vendors. And the vendors are going to say, no way. But we're looking at a year from the time, probably a year from the summer. So it'd be a year 13. What is this, 13, 14? Why is SEDS important? Because we got to start talking to the same language. The reason we have data quality, the reason we don't have real truth, is each vendor system is different, and we need to have the same definition for the same field. That's how lower it gets. Is every field is defined in SEDS. You can go to seds.org, CEDES. You can download the white papers. You can get ahead of this. You can start reading it. EdFi is also Google EdFi. That will give you a lot of information. It's coming your way. Business case. That is kicked off for ALIAS. We talked about Arizona Education Learning and Accountability System. It's not funded. But the business case is probably going to come out and prove that there's a lot of money to be saved by looking at this. It doesn't mean the legislature, everybody's going to accept it, but there's probably going to be shown. What will happen after the ALIAS project comes out is, and there's a lot of districts, and I don't know if they're represented in this room, that have been calling me and saying, when are you going to implement ALIAS? We want to go on it. Well, we're in the middle of building the RFIs to get to the, and there's surveys coming out to districts. Some of your districts may receive these surveys. I think we've identified 30 districts. They're small, medium, large, rural, and suburban. So we're going out to those districts and asking you questions like, how much do you spend on that? It's a list of what you do with your systems. What kind of systems do you have? What kind of assessment? What kind of SIS? We're asking all these questions. I'd ask for your support because you're the basis of what the business case is going to show. Be as honest as you possibly can with the data that you have. A lot of you probably don't even have some of the data. I understand. But it's really critical, and we'll have to get a good sampling in order to say, because we're going to, obviously when you do a survey, you're going to say, well, 30% equals a good sample size. This is a good answer. This is what the state's demographics is. Boom, put a number to it, and it becomes the whole state plan. We did pick different regions. This is not a Maricopa County only. We did hit every county so that we can get different people's opinions and likes and dislikes. This is Superintendent Hubenthal is sending this out to your district superintendents. You know how that goes. It's going to end up on somebody's in this room's desk. And, well, hopefully. If not, we're calling. Lisa, who's my champion business liaison, she will make sure somebody gets hauled. So if it gets lost in the superintendent's desk or in the file, a little round file on the floor, we'll be reaching out to you. And we'll spend times. Once we get the survey done, we're going to do focus groups. This is not just I'm not doing what all the other states have done that have blown $50 million, $100 million. They've just gone out and gave it to a vendor, and then the vendor blows it. We're trying to do this slow and a solid approach so that it's as best as it can get at the end of the day. The last thing that I have, I think it's the end of the slide, is to say's vendor call. So what we'd like to do, if there's any vendors in here or you have vendors, please have them get a hold of, because we would like to get a list of all the vendors. And please have them get a hold of lisa.blyer@azed.gov. What we want to do is have a vendor meeting. We want to have an open vendor meeting. What a concept, huh? We want to sit down with the vendors and listen to your opinions. We want to understand your needs. The SAY system or the ALIA system will be a vendor system. It will not be built by ADE. It will be built, but the data will be owned by ADE. That'll be the big difference. But it'll be a vendor system that you guys help select. Another thing that I'd like to probably have done that's not on this slide is that I want to have an IT call. I want to get every IT person in the state in a conference. I think that this state should have some more coordination between IT people and us so we can understand some of the issues you're facing. So when we start looking at, when we build ALIAS and sometimes, let's say 30% of the state goes on it and some of them don't want to go, that's fine. But we still have to talk to each other as far as communication goes. And those districts that do join ALIAS, that doesn't mean you're out of IT. You still have to deliver the last mile, which is the most important mile for education. That's the kids. That's why you're there. That's the wireless. It's the network that's making sure the applications run and coordinating and making the system. All that the central system would do is the same thing that your central systems do. It is provide software and services and hardware. But it wouldn't, the last mile, it's not a threat to IT people. We still need the IT people to deliver the service that they do every day. But we do want to get the IT people in a room. And hopefully in the next 6 months we'll have a big conference. Probably not. We can't do it, of course, during the peak season because hotels cost too much. But we can try to get one during the hot summer someplace in Arizona. And maybe up in the mountains where it's not so hot. But that probably wouldn't be convenient. So it would be in Tucson or Phoenix. But we want to get you guys together. So if you have, if that interests some of you in the room, then that's something that we want to do. If some of you are in the IT director position, I don't know what's the demographics of this room. But that's the way we start opening communications between all channels. Good communications mean we're hearing the issues. Doesn't mean I'll solve them, but I'll hear them.
A question and a comment. For the business case, are your surveys and focus groups, are you also surveying charters?
Yes.
Same districts, so clarify.
Very good. Thank you. You caught me.
And then a comment about the dashboards. I'm so excited to see that because when we are filling out grant applications and they want our AIM scores by demographics, well, the group reports we get from Pearson in 2009 had a demographic group report, but not in 2010 or 2011. So what are we going to do? Go through each kid's score and try to see his ethnicity to try to figure out our accurate numbers for these grant applications or data reports or whatever. So I'm so excited to see it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Wow. Knocked one person's socks off. She ain't wearing any. They left them outside.
I had to publish them first. So
yeah.
But yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Any questions? Because I've got about 8 minutes, and I know you guys want to do something else besides listen to me. Yes, ma'am.
Just a clarification regarding the student report the teacher. I've been hearing rumblings about this, but I haven't seen anything in writing. Is there something in writing posted when this is coming so we can start preparing for this?
The letter went out to the first pick districts, right, Lisa?
Yes, this week.
And it did go to all districts. It just went to the first ones. So if your district did not receive a letter, and it's a personal letter, it means that we're going to do a large sample. And who's in the sample is Mesa, so we're talking really large sample. In charters and small and medium rural districts. We want to see how bad we can screw it up first and learn best practice of not how to do it to everybody. But we wanted to do a fast, big sample.
So it's not for, if we didn't receive the letter, we don't have to implement it for this school year then?
Yes, maybe not this school year. You'll be in the second round of April or May.
Okay, so I need to go find somebody in my district to find out whether we've received.
It'd be the whole district,
Okay.
not just, we didn't do partials.
Who did you contact when those letters went out? Where did they go?
The superintendents.
Okay. And if not, we should.
What district are you in?
Glendale Elementary?
Not on it. Now I saw Phoenix. I was talking to somebody from Phoenix Union, right? There, you're on it. I know. You're on it.
Is this mapping to be uploaded through our current SMS, or is this a different?
It will map from your SIS into a tool. And that tool updates to me. And it goes two ways, you and me. So.
Bottom line, it has to be in our SMS. So just to kind of follow along those lines, and that's great for 12-13, but where do I get the information to be ready to do my courses now?
Let Lisa Blyler know,
Okay.
and we'll try to get you some information.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Mark, I have a question. I've been talking to Bill for that, and I'm this whole subject of the teachers is going to be
It's not only in this state.
But it's going to be huge, I think, for the state of Arizona because so many of them have not mapped their courses. So what are you guys going to be doing? I hope you're not just expecting the vendors to train them once we get the product.
Good question.
What are you going to do for training for all of the districts?
And we're going to learn on the first one. We're going to build a SWAT team. We're not just going to do a typical ADE, and I hope not. Okay, I'm saying this. Here you go, guys. Good luck with this. We're going to do a SWAT team in training. We're going to train the trainers. First we're going to do is bring Osborne in to learn their experience with the first group. Just talk about it. And then we're going to send a team out to each district. We'll do a couple samples with them, teach them how to do it. And what we want to do is do a bunch in parallel. So we're going to have multiple teams. We're looking at maybe 4 teams to go at one time, and then we'll see how big we have to blow that. We do need vendors' engagement, though. This is not we can't do this without you, because I need your back end connection. I got to get your XML data feeds, and. Well, we're not mandatorily saying, which is why we picked ESP as our provider. We are not saying you have to change yours. That's coming. You got to map it to one. Because you're right. Some of these districts have already done their 2013 plan. I'm not saying we just need you to map what you call your course to what the NCES standard is. And so we're hopefully making it easier. Supposedly this is easier. We didn't come to you and say, okay, guess what? Throw away your plan and start over. So we're trying to listen. But you're still going to tell me I've screwed it up. I know. And I do appreciate feedback because that's how you get better. So our first ones, Phoenix Union, Gila Bend. Is anybody here from Gila Bend? Gila Bend's in that. Mesa's in it. This will be a fun exercise. I think Mesa, you should be pretty... It should be easy, I hope, because you have some mature systems. But you're the big example to tell us what we did wrong. Then we'll hit the other districts. We tried, and I know this might sound like the state of Maricopa for those that are out of it. We tried to pick close enough to here that we could jump on it before we go tackle the White Mountains, the Navajo, Kingman, Yuma, and Tucson's close, but out into Benson and all those places that we have in the state that are so far apart. Any other questions?
So the deadline for December 31st is all of the mapping, all of it?
All of it done.
Wow.
Done. Well, don't ask me my opinion of that date.
Did you say 2012?
Yes, I did. Well, that's this year. Last time I checked. But the way the federal government looks at this is that ARA was given us to 5 years ago. We were supposed to do it 5 years ago. And I don't know what happened. I just picked this ball up last year. And I know how hard it is because we did Osborne, and we just did not do that right. So everything that somebody asked in here that says it's easy is, I'm not trying to make this easy. It ain't easy. We will do the best we can to help you. I don't want to leave you out there on your own.
How long has superintendents known?
They signed their money agreement. It was on it. When they signed ARA, you signed it. So did the governor. So she's on the link. Superintendent Huthenthal didn't. Superintendent Horn signed it. So this is something every one of your districts that took money signed, and every district and charter took the money. And the challenge is you took the money and then spent it just like everybody else did. The money ain't there. I have very limited money to do this whole state. And we did, as you heard, we got race to the top. Out of the race to the top, the only thing that we got to do this project, because all of the money goes out to the districts, $12 million of the $25 million. $25 million is not a lot of money. And $12 million distributed to the amount of districts and charters we have is not a lot of money. So the $2.72 that a district gets ain't going to help them a lot. But I got $2.5 million to complete this exercise. That ain't a lot of money, and especially when the tool is $1 million. But ESP is providing the services to be on the ground to help us do this mapping as part of the tool. Any questions? Any more? I really, really appreciate the opportunity to stand in front of you every month or every quarter whenever I do this. And I don't, as long as I'm sitting in this office, I will come here when I'm invited. If I'm not invited, I won't come. Because I do think what you do every day is so important, and I need to listen. Don't think that I can fix all the problems, though. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for the whole team that came. Thank you very much. Okay, break time.